What's going on, guys? So today we're going to talk about the KPIs that we use in our adult day center and KPIs that you should be using as well. You may not know what KPIs are. We're going to go through that and we're going to go through some of the important ones that you should know. But first, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, show this video a little love because we're going to put a little extra time and attention to it. As you can see here, we have an official PowerPoint presentation for you tonight. So that being said, my name is Chris Chan, the founder and CEO of Active Age Daytime Senior Care. And today we're gonna talk about why KPIs matter, types of KPIs that are related to sales and marketing, operations, and finance. We're gonna go through tracking tools that you can use in your adult day center, as well as things to hold you and your team accountable to metrics that are important that you should be measuring. So that being said, if you don't measure it, you can't manage it, right? See, it's hard to actually manage or to give direction or to assess a problem if you're not measuring certain metrics within your adult day center. So you might just be taking wild guesses as to what's working, what's not working, and how to make improvements unless you actually measure the things that are important. So you gotta measure it in order to manage it, right? KPIs matter because you can make better decisions if you have clarity and if you and your team have the ability to focus and zero in on things that are important to your business. KPIs are a quantifiable assessment of how you're doing. You can actually look at these KPIs and be like, hey, we're doing really good. We're having high conversion ratios. Or no, we have lower conversion ratios than we thought. We need to address that. It can provide you with direction. It can help you prioritize issues within the business. Which ones are the most important? Where do you need to plug the hole in the boat the fastest because that hole's the biggest? Let's plug that one first before we address some of the smaller ones. It's gonna help you improve and optimize over time, and KPIs can help kind of mitigate certain risk factors that you might not have considered if you didn't have a way to measure them. So we're gonna talk about the different types of KPIs. We got sales, we got operations, we got finance. This is probably going to turn into a 3-part video series. So we'll first talk about the sales and marketing aspect of it. Then we'll go into a second video. We'll talk about operations, and then a third video, we'll talk about finance. So that being said, let's get right into the sales and marketing side of it. So in this slide, we're going to talk about lead conversion rates. And there's 2 different types of lead conversion rates to measure, right? You got the conversion ratio of inquiries to new members, tours to new members, free day passes to new members, and you're also going to have the percentage of inquiries to tours to free day to free day passes, and free day passes to new members. You're going to have certain metrics that lead you to understanding, okay, if we have this many inquiries on a weekly basis, we should convert X percentage of them. Maybe it's 30%. So you know that if we have 10 inquiries per week, that means on average over time, we're probably going to have 3 new members start if your conversion ratio is at 30%. Right? And then in the case of percentage of inquiries, you might have 20 inquiries, and out of those 20 inquiries, 12 of them actually turn into a tour, right? So you can kind of see okay, what percentage of are we converting from an inquiry to tour? How do we increase that percentage? We can kind of dissect that a little bit, right? But let's get into it. So in this example here, you have a total number of leads that are generated of 20. Out of those 20, the total number of new members that start, there are 6, right? So in the sample size, we're gonna take 6 divided by 20, we're gonna times that by 100 to get a conversion ratio of 30%, right? So we have 6 new members starting, we divide that by the total number of inquiries, and that gives us the percentage of our conversion ratio of inquiries to new members, right? And then we have other, kind of formulas we can take into consideration here, right? So I try to outline this where we have the green and kind of the salmon color. And the green side, these are the conversion rates. So total number of new members divided by the total number of tours. So how many tours are converting to new members, right? So in this case, you would take the number of tours, say 12, and then you take the number of new members, say 6. So 6 divided by 12, you're converting 50% of your tours into new members, right? And the other example here, how many of you guys offer a free day? If you were to offer a free day, in this case here, right? So we give a free day guest pass to 8 people, and out of those 8 people, 6 of them turn into a new member. So our conversion ratio of our new member is actually going to be 75%, right? So here you can kind of take a look at, okay, hey, look, our conversion ratio of inquiries to new members is 30%, tours to new members is 50%, guest pass or free day to new members is 75%. Now you have an idea of like maybe where you're at. So if you don't have this data already, it's something that maybe you could go back into your CRM system, pull it out, put it into an Excel spreadsheet, use these formulas to come up with the conversion ratios of these different stages of the kind of the pipeline, right? Because at the end of the day, you have this massive funnel. You're attracting all of these inquiries, but in each stage, what conversion rate do you have for those different stages, right? So you can take historical evidence of what you've been doing to at least establish a baseline of what your current conversion rate is. Once you know that, you can start to go back and try to perfect some of those conversion ratios if they're too low, right? And of course, you're always gonna try to increase them, but if you don't know what they are, you won't ever know if you're increasing or decreasing, if you have a hole or a leak in the process. The next set right here is, say in this case here, the total number of tours to inquiries. We wanna know, okay, what percentage of the inquiries are we actually converting into tours? And so in this case here, you would take 12 tours divided by 20 inquiries, and you have a 60% conversion ratio of inquiries, right? So 60% of the inquiries you're converting into tours. Is that good or bad? Maybe you don't know yet. Maybe that's just the baseline of the last 6 months, the last year's worth of data. Maybe you're just getting started, but you can start collecting this data now. So maybe in the future, you can start to assess, okay, hey, and in January and February, we had like maybe really high conversion ratios, and March and April, they started to decline. Why is that? You can start to assess like, okay, maybe we hired a new front desk person and we realized that that front desk person didn't have a lot of inside sales training, and that could be something that we work on. So these are things to take into consideration, and it's important to measure both sides of the funnel so you can pinpoint areas that need work. All right, so we're gonna get into lifetime value of a customer. What is that, right? The customer lifetime value, or the CLV or the LTV, represents the total revenue a company can reasonably expect from a member minus the costs associated with acquiring and serving that customer, okay? The way we're gonna figure out this equation here is we're gonna take the average member revenue times the average length of stay times your net margin is gonna equal your customer lifetime value, okay? So in this equation here, in order to figure this out, we're gonna take the total monthly revenue, so take your sample set, right? Total monthly revenue, we're gonna divide that by the number of active members that you have in that month that produce that revenue, okay? This is gonna help us come up with the dollar amount per month for the average member that they're gonna spend with you, right? Now we gotta figure out what's their average length of stay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a previous, maybe sample set of previous members, okay? And we're gonna take the total number of months that they were enrolled divided by the total number of previous members from that sample set, right? So say you find 20 of your previous members and you add up the amount of months that they spent with you. So you take the total months that they were enrolled and you divide that by that sample set size of how many members were in that sample set, and that's gonna give you the average length of stay. So in this case here, you can see down here we had $65,000 per month, that was earned over 50 active members, which means that the average member spent $1,300 per month. And then you're gonna see here that we had in our previously enrolled members, right? So we had 20 previous members that we pulled our sample set from, and that those 20 previous members, they ended up spending a collective total of 360 months with us, right? So 360 months divided by the number of members in that sample set equals 18 months, right? So that's the average length of stay. So we have $1,300 per month times 18 months was the average length of stay. And then we have, in our case, in your case might be a little bit different, but it's important for you to understand what is your net operating margin. Is it 20%? Is it 15%? Is it 30%? Is it 40%? If you know your net operating margin, you would take these two numbers here, $1,300 times 18 months times, in our case here, 0.3, which means we earn a net operating margin, or maybe our EBITDA, we earn 30% on that customer, right? So in this case here, the lifetime value of a customer would be $7,020, right? That's what we're gonna net on that new member. So if you knew that, if you knew for every single member that walked in the door that you were going to earn $7,000 and $7,020 every member that actually walks in the door. That's not the total amount that they spent with you. That's just the amount that you're gonna net off of each new member on average. Then would you be willing to spend, $500, $1,000, $1,500 for a new lead? Would that make sense? As long as the amount of money that you spent on a new customer is less than the amount of money you're going to make off of that customer, then that is going to create a profitable and healthy business, right? But it's important for you to understand this equation, because once you understand this equation, it's going to make it a lot easier for you to have confidence to spend money on sales and marketing and advertising and those other efforts. So now what we're going to do is we're going to figure out what's the customer acquisition cost, right? So we just figured out what that average customer is going to spend with us, that average member is going to spend with us over time. Now let's figure out what does it cost for us to acquire a new member. So customer acquisition cost represents the cost of advertising, marketing, promotional events, and any other expenses directly related to attracting new customers or new members to your adult day center, right? So in this case here, you're going to take the total cost of acquiring a new member divided by the total number of new members that you acquired during this period of time, right? So for example, say in August of 2023, we spent $2,000 in advertising, we spent $1,000 on events, and we spent $500 on other marketing, right? So we spent a total of $3,500 towards advertising, sales, marketing, all of those efforts, and we ended up acquiring 10 new members in the month of August, right? So in this case, in this formula here, our average customer acquisition cost would be $350 per member, right? So it cost us, for every new member that started with us, it cost us $350 to acquire that new member, right? This is not the number of leads. Don't make the the mistake of using this as like it shouldn't cost you $350 to get a lead, but it may cost you $350 to get a customer, right? So maybe it costs us $35 to get the lead, but by the time we converted them, it's $350, right? So that's going to be different for everyone, but it's easy for you to calculate this because you just take all the money you put out in advertising, marketing, events, health fairs, all that kind of stuff, divided by the number of new members that you acquired during the sample set. Boom. Now it cost you $350, right? So now what we do is we can figure out that, okay, if you knew every new member would net you $7,020, would you feel more comfortable spending $350 to acquire a new member? Yes, you would, because that is a 20x return on your investment, right? So it's important to understand these things, because if you knew that, if you had these metrics, if you had this data, if you had these KPIs, you would feel so much more comfortable spending money on advertising. You'd feel less skittish. You would feel like, yes, absolutely, we should increase our advertising budget. If we want to grow our revenue, we want to increase the number of new members that are coming into our adult day center, we definitely want to spend more money on advertising and marketing to drive more leads and to increase the number of new members that are starting on a regular basis, right? And we know we're going to earn a positive return because we have the calculation for customer acquisition costs, and we know exactly how much money we're going to earn per new member, right? So this one is the quiet, silent killer that kills all businesses, and most people don't even realize that this happens over a period of time, but it's called attrition, right? So attrition refers to the reduction or decrease in the number of members attending the center over a certain period of time, right? So in this case here, we actually did a really good video, a really deep dive on this particular subject on another YouTube video. You should definitely check it out. But we'll go through it here real quickly. But a lot of times people don't realize is, they get so excited and so pumped up about the fact that they're starting a certain number of new members every year. But as they're doing that, what's happening is they're losing a certain percentage of those new members, to turnover, to churn. They might be going to an assisted living, a skilled nursing facility. They may no longer, be in good health to be able to attend your centers. Things might come up that might cause them to not be able to come back, right? And this thing is called attrition, right? So in this case here, for you to figure out your attrition rate, you would take the total number of members discharged, right, divided by the total number of members, okay? So say here in a given year, say we went over a year's period of time, right? And we had 50 members at the end of the year, right? So we started on day one, maybe it was 0, but on day 365, we had 50 members. But over that period of time, we actually discharged 10, so that would give us an attrition rate of 20%, right? So now, take this into consideration, okay? Let's look at this chart here. If you can see this chart, right? We have two different things going on here, right? We have the number of new members that are starting, okay? And then we also have the attrition rate mixed in, right? So for instance, on year one, right? We started 50 new members, or 50 new members came into our adult day center, but because of attrition of 20%, we ended up losing 10. So at the end of the year, we actually only had 40 people on the roster as active members, right? So next year we go into year 2, right? So when you take the attrition rate, right, of 20%, what ends up happening is we actually only have 72 members at the end of year 2. Not 90, 72, right? So what that means is yes, we got 50 new members, in year 2 again. However, we only ended up netting 32 new members at the end of year 2 because of attrition, right? All right, so we're all excited again. Hey, we're gonna get 50 more new members in year 3. Yes, we should end the year with 122 new members, right? Wrong, because we have a 20% attrition ratio, right? So we take the 122 and we times it by 0.8 in this case, so because we lost 20%, right? So we're left over with 80%, right? And so we end up having 97 members at the end of year 3. So you can see what's happening here, right? Every single year, we're all excited. We start 50 new members, but we're losing new members, old members at a 20%, attrition rate. And so what's happening is every single year that we're in business, we start to experience a plateau. We have this kind of like more of like a rocket ship ride up in year 1. We're all excited. Year 2, we're growing, but not at the same pace that we were growing in year 1. By year 3, we're not growing at the same pace we had grown the first 2 years. We're like, what's going on? But what was going on is that you started to have an attrition rate that was eating at your total active members. And so every year you're going into it, you're only getting maybe, here in year 1, we had 40 new, we netted 40 new members. Here in year 2, we netted 32 new members. Here in year 3, we only netted 25. And by year 4, we're only netting 21. And by year 5, we're only netting 16. And we're like, but we're getting 50 new members every single year. Like, what is going on? Well, we're losing members to attrition, both new and existing, okay? And so our net new members are starting to slowly decline. And so what you have to do is you have to overcompensate for that. So if your goal was to have 50 new members in year 1, then your goal should really be 65 or 70 new members in year 2, because you have to fight against and overcome attrition, right? Because you're losing both new members and old members, because of attrition, right? So all the new members you started that year, they're not gonna be with you at the end of the year. All the members that had started last year, some of those folks are not gonna be with you at the end of the next year. So you're losing members to attrition. So in order to overcome that and combat that, you have to start more new members every single year than you did the year before in order to have kind of, a more of an exponential growth curve, right? Otherwise, you're gonna start experiencing a plateau and you're gonna be in year 4 and 5, like, I don't know what's going on. Like, we were doing so good the first 2 years, and now like we only, started, 10 new members this year. And we've kind of hit this plateau and we're like freaking out, like what's happening? It's called attrition. So you got to be aware of it. You need to understand, what is your attrition ratio, and are you combating that by setting higher goals? And then when you do set higher goals, how are you going to achieve those goals? You're gonna have to spend more money on advertising and marketing. You're gonna have to continue to push more and more. Now you might hit a certain threshold here where you only need so many members, right? And so the goal would be to try to like maintain that level of new members coming in to maintain a certain occupancy or certain average daily census, but it just depends on how big your adult day center is. But just realize that you're going to start to experience a plateau over time, and that plateau is caused because of attrition. All right, the average sales cycle is the average duration required to convert a lead into a member, starting from the initial contact or inquiry to their first paid day. So what is that period of time, right? So if you know that period of time, it's going to help you understand, like when you have an inquiry, what should we expect, for those new members to start? Is it a week out? Is it 2 weeks out? Is it 3 or 4? So in this sample set here, what you're gonna do is take the total number of days to convert, divide the total number of converted members equals the average sales cycle length, right? So in this example, you got member 1, it took them 15 days to convert. You got member 2, it took them 20 days to convert. You got member 3, it took them 5 days to convert. So in this case here, it was a total of 40 days collectively divided by those 3 members, which means that the average conversion ratio or the average sales cycle for a new member is 13 days. Again, I'm just painting a picture and giving you a scenario. Your adult day center is going to be different, but you should take sample sets of your current center and try to figure out, okay, what is the average sales cycle, so you can start planning for that. Because when you look on your sheet and hey, we had 10 tours this week. Okay, we're gonna convert 30% of those. We're gonna have 3 new members starting, but when are they gonna be starting on average, right? So on average, they're gonna be starting maybe 13 days later from when they first came through. So it's important for you to understand this. So if you're having big growth, or if all of a sudden you realize that we haven't had leads in a while, you can start planning accordingly as to whether or not you need to hire more people, or you need to start planning for maybe reducing your head count, or just adjusting your labor costs, so you can at least continue to be profitable during maybe seasonal periods. Maybe you have certain busier seasons than others, but understanding the average sales cycle is very important. Net new members, total number of new members minus the number of members discharged equals net new, right? So in August, total of 14 members started, 5 were discharged, so you only netted in the month of August 9 new members. You didn't net 14, you started 14, you lost 5, you netted 9, right? So it's important for you to track net new members, not necessarily just new members, okay? And I think that is it for the sales section of the KPI sheet. So that being said, guys, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, show a little love. If you haven't already, go to adcpro.com. We have a ton of content there. We have a live webinar every single month. So make sure you join that. It's completely free. If you'd like to open up your very own adult day center or your very own Active Age franchise, go to activeagecare.com/franchise, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace out. Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me. If you'd like to learn how to open your own adult daycare center, go to adcpro.com. If you'd like the latest business tips, click here, and make sure you subscribe to our channel. Click here. We'll see you guys next time.